take a snapshot. Oh,
Right in front of
He's putting his car getting lined up. Didn't see Mr. Patello ready.
I drive through by myself and wait. I ain't there.
Where'd your daddy go?
I don't know.
I need to call Katie.
Just the halfway thing, whether it's not I stayed in the service. No. It had a good point.
I never regretted it, I'll tell you.
Everyone would get in your cars and get ready to go. We're going to move in about 5 minutes.
We have a show. I tell you what, well, White can't get in front.
Last 2 years in high school, I was up at y'all's house. Ain't that right?
Well,
I'll see you up there. How you doing? Hey, Charlie. Bill? Yeah, I know Bill. Just looking at your what's your name? Oh, Joe. Oh, I remember Joe. He plays football. You know Sam? Oh, sure. That's what I knew. Hey, I was just thinking about him on this.
right. Your left, your left, your left, your left, your left, right, left, your left, right, left, your military left, your military left, your left, right, left.
Up, hip, boy, left, right, left. Up, hip, boy, left, right, left,
You got enough room out there now?
I'm just going to get your shorts before I can get out.
You want him up here, I'll get him.
No, I went to Valley 46 with Clark on my old C230. Oh, yeah. So I can't use you to the right too. Good brother, I'm handy. You're handy, I went to a damn speedway a couple of weeks ago. I'm not a speedway nut. I'll get it for you. Read a good deal about you, like some of the books I read. Looking County, Open Security outfit out there, Greensboro. We're here to go down.
Good morning. I can see that. You ought to see Tom.
You know me? Dusty? That's the Richard. Oh, yeah. I see you, buddy. do nothing like that.
Good to see you, Tom.
Or is that one of them places you can't get there? Here.
I know 24. That's good.
Yeah, sure.
That's a bunch of sluggers.
That was sluggers, right? They was good.
Well, you got one of those fish. Good thing about it, all the uniforms are exactly alike.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, keep that.
Yeah, thank you.
These guys have to run the I think sometimes it's 3 and 4 of them together.
They're about through, Jack. As soon as he finishes this mover, he'll be finished up.
At this time, we'll have some music from the Davie County High School Band.
I just want to know God. Looking back on the
Hey, I'm not gonna let you sit next to her. Come on down here. Come on down here.
That's okay. I don't care. I don't need one in there. Don't do it.
You look good at it.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
No, dear. This ain't gonna work. He's back. He's back. No, he was James played Revelry and Tag. He played doctor, played no, Davie High School Angie. What's he calling her? It's your chair. His chair is here. You're not going to get Look, I'm sitting on it.
Go ahead, sign mine. Kathy, go and get mine signed.
You may be seated. At this time, we'll have the invocation by Lieutenant Jimmy L. Myers.
As a Navy chaplain serving the United States Marine Corps, I'm authorized to wear the Marine Corps uniform as well as the United States Navy uniform. So I had a decision to make today on which uniform I was going to wear. Since I was a chaplain of a unit that lost 6 men in the bombing in Beirut, Lebanon in 1983, and in memory of Charles Dennis Cook, the latest name of a Davie Countyan on this wall who lost his life in service of his country, I'm wearing the uniform of the United States Marine Corps this day. Let us pray. O Lord God, your word is filled with rites and ceremonies which call your people to remember. We have gathered here today to establish a perpetual reminder. There's a song from the early days of World War II which asks the questions, oh, what were their names? Tell me, what were their names? Do you know the names? You, O Lord, know the names. You have not forgotten those we honor today. The people of Davie County know the names. We have not forgotten them. Lord, we have gathered together today to honor the memory of those people from this county who gave the last full measure of devotion to this land they loved. Their sacrifice has made possible our assembling together for this ceremony without fear of arrest. Their sacrifice has made possible the freedom to pray in this public ceremony and to worship Thee in freedom. Their sacrifice has bought and maintained all the freedoms we cherish and hold dear. O Lord, they fought for this land. They fought for other lands, that others as well as ourselves might live free from unrighteous tyranny. Your word tells us that greater love has no man than he lay down his life for another. These Davie Countyans have laid down their lives for others. O Lord, hallow this ceremony by the presence of Thy Holy Spirit among us this day. Amen.
At this time on the program, it calls for me to make the welcoming remarks. Well, I've been rather busy for the last year, and I hadn't had time to write no speech, so don't expect no long-winded one. I do appreciate very, very much the turnout that we have here today. We are here to honor the veterans of Davie County, and I am very, very proud to stand up here and tell you thank you very, very much for what you have done for this country. If it were not for what you have done, we would not be here today. I really can't get out what I really want to say to you veterans, the way I feel, and the reasons I did what I did in trying to get this memorial here today. I did not do it by myself. There was a lot of people did a lot of work so that we could have this. And I would like to thank the color guard from the 1204th Transportation Company, the North Carolina National Guard in Salisbury, for being here with us today. The town of Mocksville, I know Terry and Steve would be glad to see this over with, because I've been in their office, something terrible here for the last while. They were working up here until lunchtime today to get this cleaned up for us, and I appreciate that very, very much. The county commissioners, I know they're glad to see it done too. I appreciate very, very much what you have done for us here. The Mocksville Women's Club, they decorated the stage for us, done an outstanding job, and I appreciate that very, very much. The Home Demonstration Clubs of the county are going to have a reception in the courthouse immediately following this, and I appreciate their work in this. There's another group that I really want to say thank you to, and that is the Memorial Committee. And if you would, if you're standing up, hold your hand up. If you're not, stand up and let the people know who you are. Because it was this group that worked together to make this a reality. Also, there is another group of people that needs a real big thank you. And that is the 225 to 250 contributors that put the money together to make this a reality. Without them, they surely would not be here today. And I want to say a thank you very much for that. I know there's some people here that I really ought to be recognizing, but my mind's blank, so bear with me. I do have some guests here that I would like to recognize today, and these are not in any particular order, they're just the way that I got them wrote down. The Mondale Hunter, he's the District 11 Commander of the VFW. Would you stand up, please? He's back over here in the back. Walter Kaiser, Jr. from Fayetteville, he's the State Commander of the DAV. Have with us Major Jerry Strong, he's the Battalion Commander of the 2 of the 120th North Carolina National Guard, and my old boss. He's back over here. We have with us Scotty Willis from Marion, North Carolina. A year ago, he was doing what I'm doing right now, and he got rained on. We're glad to have you with us, Scotty. We have Master Sergeant Dozer Murray from the North Carolina Air National Guard from Charlotte here with us today. And he is also the president or chairman of the North Carolina Military Museum Committee. And you may hear something from him a little later when he's wanting to raise some money for that military museum. Dozer, where you at? He's back over here. We have with us some of the county commissioners and the town commissioners. We appreciate y'all being here with us today. At this time, I think Holland has something he wanted to do. Is that right? Judge, it's going to be male.
Judge, on behalf of the Veterans Committee, we'd like to present this certificate of appreciation for Jack Kuntz in recognition of his vision, leadership, and many hours of work that he has contributed to make the Davie County Veterans Memorial a reality. And it's got all the members of the committee's name on it.
That wasn't on the programs. That's the reason I didn't know anything about that. At this time, I'd like to make a presentation of two flags. On behalf of the Woodmen of the World Lodge 323, I want to present these two flags to fly over the memorial. It's something that the Woodman has tried to do for a good long while, is to present flags so that you'll be reminded of what the flag stands for. And with that, I'll present these to the ROTC, and if all year round the memorial will move back, we'll have the raising of the flags. Would everyone please rise? Bugler. This time we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Roger Beck.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
This time we will all sing the national anthem led by Lady Smith. Everyone please rise. This time we'll have remarks from Mr. D.J. Manday, the mayor of Mocksville.
I don't have many remarks. I just want to state one or two things. First, I know this is a very solemn and memorable occasion, and that's the way it should be. And as Jack pointed out, this is a cooperative effort between all of the people of Davie County. And I want to commend Jack in particular and his committee for making this dream of his a reality. On behalf of the town of Mocksville and Board Commissioners, we extend to you a very cordial and warm welcome to this occasion. I wish we could take credit for the weather, but the man upstairs has more to do that than anybody, and he's been very good to us. So continue to enjoy this, and please keep in mind, not only is this a memorial, but something that will keep you and the rest of these people whose names are on that monument there to show the people of Davie County that we will remember them from now till eternity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mando. This time we'll have the remarks from Mr. R.C. Smith, Chairman of the County Commissioners.
Thank you, Jack. I would like to extend a warm welcome from the County Commissioners to those of you who are here today. We appreciate the efforts that everybody has put into this. I can think of no other occasion that is more meaningful than the occasion that we celebrate here today. And I'm glad that we have the people in this community to come forward to honor those who have made the supreme sacrifice so that we could gather here. And I would like to thank you once again for everything you have done, and let this be a constant reminder as we come through town of the supreme sacrifice that the folks made for us. Thank you.
This time we'll hear from Taylor Howard, Commander of the Advanced VFW Post 8719.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me today to be here on the platform along with these honored and distinguished guests. And I'm glad to have had the privilege and the opportunity to work along with Jack Coons and the other members of the committee on this great project that we have here before us today. In my lifetime, I've worked on many projects, past 68 years, but I believe that I have enjoyed working on this one more than any of the others that I've ever worked on, because this, to me, is a dream come true. In my lifetime, I've had many dreams. In fact, I was once called a dreamer by a boss of mine because I was smoking a pipe when I went to talk to him about something, and he said all pipe smokers are dreamers. And I guess I am a dreamer. And I've had a lot of dreams in my life. Some of them came true, some of them didn't. But this one did. Thank the Lord. This is a great day for all of us gathered here today, and it's a great day for Davie County. Flags and other mementos that have been handed out, passed out, making all of us feel real patriotic today, and it's good that we do. But so many times during the peace times, when there's no war going on, we tend to forget really what that flag up there represents and what it means. I've been to athletic events in the past few years, and you have to, where when the national anthem was sung, a lot of people didn't even stand up, let alone salute. Just let it go by and not remember it. Someone gave me a clipping from a paper not long ago from the Ann Landers column. Some of you probably read it, but I'd like to share it with you now, if you let me. It's called Remember Me. Some people call me Old Glory. Others call me the Star-Spangled Banner. But whatever you call me, I am your flag, the flag of the United States of America. Something has been bothering me, so I thought I might talk it over with you. I remember some time ago people lined up on both sides of the street to watch the parade, and naturally I was always there, proudly waving in the breeze. When your daddy saw me come in, he immediately removed his hat and placed it over his heart. You remember? And you, I remember you standing there straight as a soldier. You didn't have a hat, but you were giving the right salute. Remember your little sister? Not to be outdone, she was saluting the same as you with her hand over her heart. Remember? What happened? I'm still the same old flag. Oh, I've had a few more stars added since you were a boy, and a lot more blood has been shed since those parades of long ago. But I don't feel as proud as I used to. When I come down your street, you just stand there with your hands in your pockets. I might get a small glance, but then you look away. I see the children running around and shouting. They don't seem to know who I am. I saw one man take off his hat and look around, and he didn't see anybody else with his hat off, so he put his hat back on. Is it a sin to be patriotic anymore? Take a look at the memorial honor rolls sometime. Look at the names of those who never came back in order to keep this nation free. One nation under God. When you salute me, you're actually saluting them. Well, it won't be long until I'll be coming down your street again. So when you see me, stand straight and place your hand over your heart. I'll salute you, waving back, and I'll know that you remembered. I'd like to see flags in front of every home in Davie County within the next year. And in closing, I'd like to share a quote with you from an address given by a great man on the battlefield not too many miles from here, a little over 100 years ago. No doubt this will be shared later on in the program, but it means a lot to me, and it's from my heart. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, shall not perish from the earth. I thank you.
I have before me a resolution from the Davie County Commissioners. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Davie County, in grateful appreciation of the services rendered their fellow citizens, veterans of Davie County in all wars, all our wars, and the sacrifice of their time, well-being, and very lives to the cause of freedom and independence for the people of Davie County and for the citizens of these United States, do hereby declare that November the 7th, 1987, be and said date is hereby declared to be a special day for honoring Davie County War veterans and for dedicating the Davie County Veterans War Memorial. Signed R.C. Smith, Chairman, Bill Foster, Norman Hooser, Francis W. Slate, and Buddy Alexander. This time we'll hear from Luther Potts, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army Reserve.
I too am proud to be a part of this committee, and I think it's something that was long overdue. And I commend all of you people because it's your monument. You're the one that sent the money to us so that we could erect it. And I appreciate everything you've done. You know, every day when we leave home, most of us usually give our wife, kids, husbands a kiss, say goodbye, see you this afternoon, tonight. But there's some people, thousands of them since the Civil War, who left and said goodbye and didn't come back. And those are the people that at this moment we want to remember, and that's the MIAs. This time, the ROTC cadet from the high school is going to release some balloons in memory of them. Be over to my right. Thank you very much.
Before we have the introduction of our keynote speaker, I would like to again say thank you to all who made this a reality. To the girls here in the chorus, the band, the ROTC, everyone is here. I really appreciate it very much. This time we'll hear the introduction from Raymond McClamrock, World War II veteran.
Ladies and gentlemen, veterans, friends, heirs, and relatives of men who participated in the wars of the past, let us turn back the pages of time to the late 30s, as some of us know was a very trying time. The United States was coming out of our country's most severe depression. Times were tough. Patriotism was good and pure. There was no such things as burning our flag or refusing to help defend our country. Morals were very high. It was a time for all good men to help and defend our country. It is a great honor and a privilege to tell you a little about a man from Davie County. He was born and reared on a farm just west of Mocksville. He attended Mocksville High School and was an outstanding student. Also was outstanding in sports. He received letters. Back then, they gave letters in high school for the sports that you were real good and mastered. He received letters in football, basketball, and baseball. He was 2 years ahead of me in high school, but he was my ideal. I copied after this gentleman. He was a great inspiration to me. And his performance in sports inspired me to want to play football. And by the grace of God and his talents that he gave me, I did play football and was offered a scholarship at Appalachian, which I'm sorry to say I refused. This gentleman went on in life using his talents. After finishing high school in the spring of '38, he entered Lee McRae's that fall. He finished in '38 in May and then went into college in the fall. After college, he enlisted in the Air Force and became a bombardier. He used his talents, the freedom of our country today. He was married to Ann Gwynn. They have 4 children, boys. And he informed me this morning at breakfast that, like all of us, he enjoyed his wife and his children. He now lives in Wintermore, Florida. And as I said in the beginning, it was in a trying time that our country was in. But the philosophy of war was a rotten business. It was kill or be killed, and all servicemen were taught that. We condemn or talk about that philosophy, but it was a rotten business. That's why we're here today, to using the privilege and opportunity of honoring our comrades that gave their all for our freedom today. It is now with a great honor I'll present to you our retired Davie County boy, I will say man now, Colonel Thomas W. Ferebee.
Well, when I was shown that this morning, I told him there's only one thing you should take out of there, is outstanding student. Because I was a pretty good ball player, but I didn't get the honor roll. But anyway, the first thing I want to do is thank you for inviting me here. It is really an honor. And I'm real happy to be with you on a day like this, which is a very important day for Davie County. I'm not going to make a Jerry Ford speech. I don't have a prepared speech because my son, Dr. Steve, is here, who's an English teacher at Rocky Mount, North Carolina Wesleyan. He wanted to edit it, and I knew I wouldn't have anything left. So I'm just going to talk to you and share some of the experiences I've had. And some of them will be different to what you've seen in the movies or read in books and things, but what I say, I'm going to tell you exactly the way it was when I was there and what we did. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about my growing up here in Davie County. But I'm really proud of Davie County, and I've always tried to come back. My family, father and mother, father here, and I really enjoyed it. But I started out, I went to Farmington School. I think I left there in the 4th grade. And you know, everywhere you go in life, as I found that, you always form a little clique. I guess you call it a clique, anywhere you stop for a while. And I remember in Farmington, the little clique there was Woodrow James, Jake Allen, Bubba Montgomery, and myself. And today, we're all living, except Bubba Montgomery. He gave his life right off the bat. He got in with 18 years old and killed as a fighter pilot at the beginning of the war. So in a small group like that of 4 people, myself and Woodrow James were the only 2 that lived, but Bubba gave his life for his country. And we never realized when we were 4 little kids walking around there at Farmington that someday he would give his life, and they scared me quite a few times. But I moved on from there to Kena, where another little clique was formed. Mostly there with my cousins, Joe, Warren, Richard, and Wayne. And then we came on to Mocksville, and another little clique with Gordon Tomlinson, Ashley Wiggins, Joe again, and it stayed that way, I mean, all the way through high school. Where you'd see one, you'd usually see the other one. But that's the way you go, and I'm happy that I had those friends then, and I still remember all of them. And after I left high school here, they said I went on to Lee McCrae, and I was fortunate enough to play ball there, and I graduated after 2 years, and it required 2 years of college to get in the Air Force cadet program, which I was fortunate I had. And I didn't want to carry a rifle. Not that I'm against people that carry rifles, but I didn't think I'd be a very good one. So I got into the Air Force. I graduated in '42 at Kirtland, Albuquerque as a bombardier. And they sent to freight to Sarasota, which they were forming a B-17 group. I joined it and made 3 flights with a crew that right out of flying school, all of them just like me. And we were in England in the latter part of June. Knew very little about flying combat. And we were all convinced after the RAF briefed us, showed us photographs, film of the bombing and the things that happened to them, that they said there was no way in the world that we could fly daylight, high altitude and survive, and we believed them. So they made us fly low level. It taught us low level flying. About a week before the first daylight mission, the heavy mission, we had one B-26 mission, I think, prior to A-20 mission, actually, prior to that. But we were the first daylight, high level. And we were convinced that we wouldn't make it, but we had to try anyway. We never convinced that we shouldn't try. So about a week before we went on the first flight, they told us to go to 26,000 feet and fire guns. I guess that was to see if it wouldn't freeze up. And about a week later, I got a call over the loudspeakers that Colonel Tippett's crew, he was a lieutenant colonel at the time, report to Colonel Armstrong immediately, with General Frank Armstrong. And I didn't know where I was in trouble or where we were actually going to do something, because we'd been there a month or so and hadn't flown very little. Well, we walked in and he said, boy, this is the day. So he gave us his prepare for mission. We knew very little about preparing for mission. Had never flown at high altitude much. So 12 airplanes, we take off and bomb Rouen, France. And I was the lead, and I couldn't find the target. My navigator kept saying, you stoop, there it is. But I didn't know where to look actually from that altitude because I'd never flown that. But I finally found it, but it was too late. And I dropped bombs somewhere around the railroad yards, and the rest did the same thing. But we had started what was to go on for quite a while. And we, I think on the third mission, we were to bomb the Yellow Nose outfit, which was a very good fighter outfit. And Goring had announced the night before that he would get a B-17, or they would, the next flight. So we bombed and hadn't seen any fighters at all. And on the way back, I'd already unloaded my gun. And somebody said, here comes the so-and-so. And he came through the formation and shot the plane off our right wing and shot us up so bad that the airplane never flew again. And we all came out all right, a couple of injuries, but that was all. And, so it was about 5 or 6 missions later, they came to us and said, well, you're not going to fly anymore here in England. You got to take General Clark to Gibraltar. So we went down to southern England, picked him up and took him to Gibraltar, and he went across to deal with Darlan in France for about a week. And he came back and he was pretty shook up. They had almost captured him. He had lost a lot of his gold. He carried a lot of gold with him to trade, and he ended up giving us a couple of, I think it was $10 pieces of gold. But they almost captured him as he got back in the boat to go to the submarine. Got back to England, and they said, well, you could take General Eisenhower back to the Rock, the same place, in about a week. So on November the 7th, November the 7th, we took him back to Gibraltar and dropped him there in the Rock, and picked up General Clark, who had gone down with somebody else, and took him into Algiers, Maison Blanc, with 15 RAF Hurricanes as escort. We had 2 B-17s, and just as we got about 15 miles of Maison Blanc, the RAF boys said, we got to leave, we were running out of petrol. So they went in and landed, and we heard them calling out each other, said, well, we verified it, 40J UH here, there's 40J BT 111 here. And by the time we hit the runway, we'd just pull off, and they had an armored car to pick General Clark up. They had the cars there, and we rolled off and cut the engines, and we got out. The co-pilot got out behind me, and I noticed the whistling noise. Then you see a puff, and it was delayed action bombs actually hitting the runway. And they were also dropping some on the runway as well as the fleet in the harbor. So I said, well, this Canadian general who was with General Clark said, well, get organized, get organized. And the co-pilot said, organized hell, I'm taking off. So I passed him pretty quick. So they finally got that party, and we were there for 2 weeks waiting for him to take him out, he and Darlan both, in case something happened. But John Doolittle came down and told us we should go back to Oran and rest. So we went back up there, and they killed Darlan that night. But then we went on down to Biskra and operated out of there. And then December, they told Paul and I that we would come back to the States and test the B-29, and we wouldn't fly anymore there. So I went to Casablanca for a week and came back. John Doolittle was there again. He said, well, the B-29 just crashed and killed most of the engineers, so no really few people go back to the States. So Paul went up to Algiers with John Doolittle, and I went to the wing with the general I'd been flying with there, John Atkinson. I stayed there until we went to Italy, and I'd flown 50 missions, and they asked me if I'd fly 15 more. Said they'd make me a major and just fly a special mission when I was asked to. So I ended up flying 13 of those, and 3 times I didn't make it all the way home. So it looked like I was about to run out of luck. So I decided to come home, so I only flew those 13, so I ended up flying 63 B-17 missions. I flew 1 mission with RAF, which scared me much more than 63 I flew with the U.S. Air Force. They had, we wanted to see if we could bomb at night. This general wanted me to go see if I could figure out a way so that we'd switch the fighters from different areas instead of just daylight. Well, they're not, the RAF were not scared of anything. Well, we weren't either, but still I think we used our head a little more. They flew straight over a fleet that was going out of Sicily, evacuating, actually the Germans evacuating out of Sicily, Italy, about sundown. They shot about 5 or 6 down, flak over the fleet. We went up there, never bombed. It was weathered over, and we finally ended up starting back to Africa, and I went to sleep. They waked me up, ready to bail out. They didn't know where they were, and they were running out of fuel, so I went up and talked to the kid, was either 18 or 19 years old, was flying the airplane. And I asked him, well, why don't we just let down and see if we can't find something over the water, because I think we're still over water. We let down, actually, it was the tip of Sicily, and they'd just taken over Sicily, a part of it that morning. And we landed on that runway with some Jeep lights. The Americans had just moved in that morning. And it was doing finally, one engine caught in 109 and it crashed on the runway and flipped us over. Well, I ended up hitchhiking back to Africa with a B-17 shuttle mission through there a couple of days later. But I told the general, I said, they might be able to bomb at night, but I don't have any idea how we can do it. So that ended the day, our work with RAF. That was quite a mission. Well, anyway, I came on back to the States, went to Washington for interrogation, and John Vandenberg told me they had a job for me, you know what it was, to go to Miami Beach and arrest. I said, what's down at Miami Beach? He said, well, just go down and arrest. So I went down there for 5 weeks and had one dental appointment. He said he would get in touch with me about this job. Well, I hadn't heard anything. So I was running out of money and was worse shape than I was when I went down there, so I decided I should move on. And the next day I got ordered to go to Galveston. I go to Galveston and to a school to learn how to bomb. The people, the instructors had flown on my wing in Europe. I didn't learn much there, and I went on to, after about a month, they sent me to Army, Oklahoma, and I'm getting pretty fed up because they weren't telling me what I was going to do. So one day I got this message from General Armstrong saying I'm transferring to my unit in Grand Island, Nebraska, with the B-29. That was fine. About an hour later, I got a message saying that I was being transferred to Wendover, Utah. And it was the highest urgency, top secret. So I went in to see this colonel, West Pointer. I have nothing against West Point, but it's a wonderful school. But anyway, he chewed me out very well for not, for asking him to call the general. I wanted to call General Armstrong to see if there was any connection between Wendover and Grand Island. So I finally just turned and walked out and I called him myself, which I did. And he says, keep your mouth shut and go on to Wendover. So I drove to Wendover and drove on the field, and I saw the flag off at distance. And I couldn't see any airplanes, no cars. So finally I went up to the flagpole and there was 1 or 2 cars there. And I walked in the office and there was a lieutenant and a secretary sitting there. And And I gave them these orders, and they said, well, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait for a while. They're briefing people in the office there. So I sat about an hour, and nobody ever came out or came in. Finally, I saw Paul Sibbett stick his head out the door. He said, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? So they were briefing him, Mr. Oppenheimer, Dr. Oppenheimer, and General Groves, and Dr. Compton, and one or two others were briefing him. So he came out, and they took me in and briefed me. All they told me was that what they wanted us to do this job. It's a very important job, and what I was going to drop would destroy everything within 8 miles. I'd done a lot of bombing in Europe. I'd seen a lot of the effects of bombs, and I laughed at them. I didn't tell them, but that's what I thought. They put the long hairs didn't know what they were doing. So Paul and I discussed a little bit of it, but they didn't tell him what they were going to tell me. They didn't tell me what they told him, so there was no way you could talk to each other, because they knew that if anything ever came out of what they told us, they would know where it came from. So we didn't discuss a lot, but they told us we could get 2 crews anywhere in the world, that's Air Force crew that we wanted by name, just to give the 2nd Air Force the name. At that time, we knew, Paul and I both knew that there'd be only 2 crews that would ever drop a bomb, and there'd only be two bombs that would be dropped. But they didn't tell me it was an atomic bomb. They just said it would destroy everything in 8 miles. But anybody that was told the yield of that bomb were watched very closely. And that was the only reason that I was watching close. I was not that I was so smart that I was helping the scientists doing anything. It's just that if I told anything about the yield of that weapon, other people might be able to pick up something of what it was. So I did a testing there for a year, many different sizes, shapes. And after about 2 or 3 months, after visiting Hanford and Los Alamos and Oak Ridge, and seeing what a tremendous thing it was there, I believed that they did know what they were doing. And after working with the different shapes, and with Admiral Parsons, who was a fusion expert, and Dr. Fuchs, who was a scientist that worked with him, I began to believe very sincerely they knew what they were doing, and they did have something that would do that. But I didn't know exactly what it was. And then I also working with them, and the shapes I had, I knew there's going to be 2 different types of bombs, because the shapes were different. One was long, and one had to have a pumpkin type shape for the perfect sphere it had to go in, where the other was a gun type thing. But I was never told anything about an atomic bomb. And the group went, or the airplanes went to Tinian in May with the ground crews and the support equipment. And Paul and I stayed back in the States to fly an airplane within 30 miles of the Trinity shot in New Mexico. And they had one more unit that I had to drop prior to our real drop. But it was being assembled in the lab on Tinian. So I came in the club one morning, or in the base, real early. I'd been in Salt Lake City, and the MP said, "You report to the base commander immediately." So I went in, and Paul was sitting in the office, and Paul said, "Tom, you got to go immediately. The unit's ready for you." The base commander said, "He's not going anywhere. The club burned down last night, and we're going to find out where he had anything to do with it tonight." For some reason, they thought I had a lot of things to do with the things that went on, but Paul said, well, he was in town. He said, I don't care. He had something to do with it. So anyway, within an hour, I was gone to Tinian on a C-54. And I got over there, and things were really fouled up. The Navy wanted to really get in more into the program. They suggested to me, or asked me, if I would consider being transferred to the Navy and fly with the pilot that I'd been flying with in the States. I did all my test work with a major from Wright Field, all except maybe a couple of flights. And they wanted to transfer him to the Navy, me to the Navy, so they get more control and maybe drop it. And it said Paul wasn't qualified to make the flight because he hadn't flown with me in the B-29, which was true. But we'd flown so much in B-17s together, and I'd flown all over the station other aircraft, that we knew what each other do. There was no reason for us to fly together in B-29. So General May got all over me about the airplanes being there with no weapons in them. So we only had a tail gun, that's all we kept. And I told him, well, I knew that he should get in touch with General Groves or the president, because that's who the outfit operated through other than just administrative purposes. Well, he talked to Captain Parsons, who was the ranking man over there at that time, to connect with us, and he never bothered me anymore, because he found out actually where it was operated from, because the project was operated directly through General Groves to the president, and anything that the Air Force didn't agree with had to go back through them. So I wasn't bothered anymore about that, but he told me to get Paul over there as quick as Paul got there for us to come to Guam. So Paul was there 2 days later, and we went up to Guam, and they discussed about Paul's flying, and I said, well, if he's not capable of flying it, I'm not capable either. So you just have to find somebody else. Well, John May said his colonel had actually caused a lot of the problems with the Davie down to fly with Paul, which some of this came out in the book and the movie, but this is exactly how it happened. And he came down and got in the airplane, and I had this unit to drop, and I told Paul, let's drop the unit first, and then you show him how you can fly this airplane. So we dropped it, and after about 5 minutes, I was about ready to agree with him. He couldn't fly it because he did maneuvers I'd never seen in a B-29. This guy, he said, that's enough. He said, I'm satisfied. And, in fact, the colonel was Colonel Butch Blanchard. I became a 4-star general, a very good friend. But it was just a situation at the time that petty jealousy and things got involved. And so that's how that they decided Paul wasn't qualified. Anyway, he was there, and we spent about 4 or 5 days getting another unit ready. And then we went to Guam one more time and picked out the targets. And General May and this same Colonel Blanchard actually sat down and went over. There was 5 targets, cities that were never bombed. They were left far distant because they wanted to find out the minimum and the maximum damage. And actually, in a way, he said it actually was a test program in a way. Although we were trying to end a horrible war, it was still, we wanted those 2 weapons tested, and you had to get the minimum and maximum to find out. So that's why those cities, we told the crew that were flying over there, that there were prisoner of war camps in those cities. And Hiroshima was, I wanted Kyoto, the Secretary of Defense knocked that out because of religious problems. So General May and Paul and I, we decided on Hiroshima. And the main reason because it was it was a delta effect, and we thought that you'd get a better test out of that from the explosion as to where the minimum and the maximum effect was. And Kokura was the secondary target for the second, was the target for the primary for the first bomb, or the second bomb. And it ended up, they had weather problems, and all other problems, and finally ended up making one pass at Nagasaki. And luckily they even bombed where they did because they had so many problems they would probably dropped in the water had they not let it go there. But on our flight, there was no problem whatsoever. It was a perfect day. Admiral Parsons armed the bomb about 4 hours out to about 4,000 feet. About an hour after we got off, and all I did was watch him. And got up there, and it was perfect weather. I picked the target up about 60 miles out, and we just rode in and let it go. And I tried to watch it go down to make sure it was falling free. And I didn't put my glasses on, and Paul was flying instruments in the turn, and he didn't put his on, so we both got blinded pretty fast. but it was no after effect whatsoever. In about 3 or 4 minutes, we were parallel to it, and it was already up to our altitude with 33,000 feet. And all you could see was just a mushroom stem formed, and all you could see was all different colors imaginable in that stem going up. You see buildings, smoke, fire, everything you can imagine. And we had to send a message after we looked at it like that, and I sent a message, and also Admiral Parsons sent a message to the President. And one said very satisfactory, and one said satisfactory. And we don't know today, of course he did, but which one said satisfactory, which said the other. But it fouled them up in Guam, and they held it up for about an hour before it went to the President, determining which should be sent, satisfactory or very satisfactory. And after the second one, the war was over, I went up to Japan, spent about a week there visiting Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We were under different names, nobody knew who we were. I came back to the States, and Paul and I came back immediately after we got back to Japan, so the group didn't come back until November, and we joined them in Roswell then. And I just did a little training there at Roswell, and I went to school, the first nuclear school at Sandia Base in Albuquerque. And while I was there, the Berlin blockade thing came up. So they called me back to Roswell, and again I thought I'm going to drop another atomic bomb, because they formed 3 crews, and I was the lead bombardier in the 3 crews, and they gave us 2 weeks of real fast Russian, and I think we learned a few words, but we really thought that here we might go again. We were the only outfit that was capable of dropping them, and we still had the old squadron, 15 airplanes, but we still had the capability, and we thought that here we go again, but it didn't happen. I stayed in Strategic Air Command all my career. I was at Cuba, Deputy Commander for Maintenance at Cuba. I was at Savannah when the Cuba thing came, and I was Deputy Commander for Maintenance. I had 77 bombers, B-47s. I had 17 on alert in New Asura, North Africa, and I had 17 on home alert at Savannah. And about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got word that I had to receive all the airplanes from McCoy, McCoy in South Florida, weapons and aircraft, because they were going to move fighters in there. So that night, I had to defuel all those airplanes and put weapons on, because we had to disperse them to some other bases, civilian bases, and things after they arrived. So my fuel system ran over. SAC gave me heck, I didn't know what I was doing because my fuel system was running over. Well, the fuel system wasn't built to take that much fuel. But we got all those bombers defueled and then refueled again, in addition to mine, and all the weapons, and we had them cocked at other bases in the States, civilian bases, and some other Air Force bases in that short period of time. And we sat in that configuration for almost a month. And it was about 24 hours there that I was almost sure that we were going to launch. So it's a horrible feeling to be in a situation like that, thinking that any minute, any second, all those things could go. But I had 77 bombers, and every aircraft had a weapon on it, either there or somewhere else, in addition to all the other SAC bases had what they had. And none of mine were less than, I'd say 1, and some of them 2 or 3 megatons. So that's a lot. And when the President finally got it settled, he came down about 2 or 3 weeks after, just before we brought our aircraft back in. But anyway, I was in charge of the aircraft, but I worked all night because I knew he was coming in the next morning. And I'm out there in my staff car, dirty uniform on, sweaty. And the senator from Georgia had him to call me and tell me that they wanted me to come in, that the President wanted to meet me. So here I am, and I don't have time to go home and change clothes. I said, well, just you have to come in anyway. So I go out and go in, and the senator told me, Senator Russell, that the president wanted to meet me. So they lined me up. I'm the junior colonel, and they had 2 or 3 Army Star 4-star generals and 2 or 3 admirals, 4-stars. And they were arguing who was going to greet the president first. So I'm still out on the end of the line, and the president comes down the walkway of the aircraft getting off, and these generals and admirals are still up there pushing to see which one would shake his hand first. And General May happened to walk off just ahead of him, and he just pushed them away and reached over and got the colonel's hand, who was my wing commander, and shook his hand, and he came on down the line and got to me, and I didn't know what to say. He said, I understand you have a friend in Boston, I know. So he chatted a little, and he said, I just wanted to shake your hand. So he shook my hand. He said, it's a little steadier than it was about 2 weeks ago. And I said, mine is too, Mr. President. And so then he had a helicopter, and he kept talking to me. He didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say anything. I just said, there's your helicopter. So he got his helicopter and took him over to the Army camp there. But I'm proud of that picture because he meant a lot to me, and I think that what he did, the way he settled that thing, is something we should all be proud of, because there could have been just a slight change there, and all those things could have gone, and we wouldn't be what we are today. After that, I stayed in SAC until I retired in 1970, and I got out, retired at Orlando, Florida. I messed around in real estate for 5 or 6 years, and I got pretty lazy. It got slow, and I got lazy, and I just quit that. And so right now, I mean, I'm not doing much of anything, except I hope I'm ready to retire now. And again, I want to thank everybody here in Mocksville for what they did for me when I grew up here. I mean, I'm not going to mention any name of who did what, but I might leave out somebody. But this town and city was really nice to me as I grew up here. I didn't have a lot, but they were all nice to me, and I'll never forget it. And again, it's an honor to be here, and I sure thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Colonel Ferebee. This time we'll have the dedication service by Reverend Leland Richardson, the Chaplain Colonel of the United States Army Reserve, minister of the First Presbyterian Church here in Mocksville.
Fellow veterans, families who lost loved ones in these wars, and friends. 1 month and 18 days ago, we celebrated the bicentennial of the Constitution of this nation. Bells rang, bands played, and homage was paid to the Founding Fathers as liberty was celebrated and proclaimed anew. We remembered their genius and vision that gave us a government that extended freedom to the highest and to the lowliest. A government that allowed a person, no matter how poor or deprived, to rise to unprecedented heights of prosperity or power or position. A government that people need not fear, but love and respect. A government that did not suppress, but release. It was fitting that we remembered the authors of that document and the liberty it embodied. And today it is equally fitting that we come here and remember and dedicate this monument to those brave sons of Davie County who went down to the sea in ships, who slogged blue-lipped and sweat-stained across the shell-shocked battlefields of this world, who broke the surly bonds of earth as they soared into the cold blue skies, where they expended their lives to preserve that government. Today we bring here a little patch of stained soil and sea and sky, and the accumulation of it marks this spot as hallowed ground. For decades to come, people will come here and read their names carved in stone and remember their finest hour came in the defense of freedom. They played and walked upon these streets of Mocksville and Coolamy, grew up on farms, as Colonel Ferebee just mentioned, in villages and crossroad communities like Farmington and Advance, Cana and Callahan, Four Corners and Fork, Smith Grove and Sheffield, Bixby and Pino, and other parts of the county. In memory, we see them again, ordinary men, young men, men who loved and were loved, who touched and were touched, who laughed and shared with their mothers and fathers, their brothers and sisters, their wives and children, sweethearts and friends. They felt the spring and the summer sun upon their faces as they plowed these red rolling hills. Felt the weariness at the end of the day when the factory whistle blew and their labor was over. Knew the joy of coming home from college or from some other place for the holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving. This was their home. Their roots and their family ties ran deep in this soil. But when duty called, they expressed their uncompromising allegiance to that nation in a gentle but firm, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Only they knew the incredible horror. Only they knew the indescribable pain as they struggled through the depths of war's hell, that we might enjoy the heights of heavenly freedom and peace. Only their loved ones knew the unmitigated agony of loss when they heard the forlorn sound of taps wafting and fading on the wind and clutched a carefully folded flag with only the white stars showing against the blue. The last memory of a son, of a father, of a husband. War, be not proud for taking them in the morning of life. War, be not proud for bringing such darkness and destitution and excruciating pain to their families and to their homes. But they would not have us spend our days in grief or sorrow, nor would we do them justice if we did so. Rather, we can best honor these men by dedicating ourselves anew to strengthening the moral fiber of this nation, to ensuring liberty and justice extends outward and downward and upward to all people, regardless of their color or their religion or their rank and station in life. And finally, to defending these shores in the maximum hour of danger, as they so bravely and nobly did. Several years after the invasion of France, the late Cornelius Ryan author of The Longest Day, revisited the beaches of Normandy. And after walking along the narrow strand lapped by the grayish-green sea, where thousands upon thousands of men struggled and fell between the darkness and the dawn on that fateful June morning, he then climbed up a steep bluff to a military cemetery overlooking the landing site. And there, amid that vast, silent sea of white crosses interspersed with stars of David, he found a plaque on which was inscribed these simple but profoundly meaningful words: "Into the great mosaic of history, this priceless piece was cast and set." Today we come here and honor the memory of those native sons when we set this priceless piece, etched with their names, into the greater mosaic history of Davie County. God grant that this priceless piece be forever complete and no more names be inscribed upon it. By God's grace and by their sacrifice, may this county, set in the midst of this great nation, endure, and posterity forever enjoy what was denied them: peace on earth, goodwill to men.
If everyone right around the memorial, we'll back off. We'll need a little bit of room there. We are going to bring the firing squad right straight in front of me here, so if you'll make room back there. This time, Luther Potts will introduce the ones that will unveil the memorial.
Now for that moment that we've all been waiting for, and you've been patient and given your money, and again, we thank you for what you've done. We have 7 POWs in Davie County. 5 of them are with us today. I guess we could say, for lack of a better word, they paid or they kissed death. The men's names etched on the wall paid the ultimate price, but these men kissed death. I'd like to introduce them to you now, and they will in turn unveil the monument. First, PFC Harold Frank, U.S. Army. He was a prisoner of war, World War II, 10 months, 8 days. And they're right down here to my right, so some of you may not be able to see them, but they're standing up. Next, General Norman Gaddis, United States Air Force. He spent 6 years prisoner of war in Vietnam. He told me he counted the days, 2,134 days he was prisoner. Next, Chief Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, Tom Howard, World War II, 7 months prisoner of war. Next, PFC Cecil Robinson, United States Army, World War II. He spent 9 months as prisoner of war. They will now, in turn, unveil the monument. Sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry, Bob. Staff Sergeant Bob Swindler, United States Air Force, 13 months, World War II.
We will now have the placing of the wreaths. These are the triad Vietnam veterans. See, that's the disabled American veterans. This is from the Advanced VFW Ladies Auxiliary. We'll now have the 21 gun salute from the Advanced VFW Post 8719. We're going to have the taps. very much. Before we have the benediction, I would like to recognize Claude Jack Reagan. He is the National Council of Administration of Veterans of Foreign Wars. Appreciate you being here with us today. And another man that I overlooked in my remarks was Gene Hall from Weinkoff Memorials out of Statesville. He was a super good guy to work with on this memorial, and he done an outstanding job, and Gene, I appreciate that very much. This time we will have the benediction, Lieutenant Jimmy Myers.
Let us pray. O Lord our God, it is our fervent prayer that you will bless our nation, that no other names have to be added to this wall as a result of future wars. But help us to realize we live in a sinful world. Help us to realize we live in a world where there is a struggle between good and evil, that there's a struggle between liberty and tyranny, and that there's a strong possibility that as a final alternative, Davie County men and women will be called upon to answer their country's call to arms. May we, as these have done in the past, respond with courage and resolve to that call to defend our freedom and the freedom of others. And as in the past, give Davie County mothers and fathers the courage to give up their sons and daughters for the cause of liberty and justice for all. O Lord, in thy might and spirit, keep us free. Amen.
We will now have the recessing of the colors. Again, thank you for being here and participating in this ceremony today. I do want to remind all of you that did not get a chance to get your envelopes to please go back over there, and the reception will start in the courthouse just as soon as we can get over there. Thank you again.
This boy's been working hard. Been passing out programs and doing all kind of good stuff. Here we
Look out here. Ice will come out this way fast.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
Just stand right here in your way.
Form a line on both sides of the table. Yeah,